All of a sudden, the video game started coming out and I got swamped. So here I am with a pile of 7 smaller titles you probably didn't know existed. Most of these games I got in September, but others are leftovers from August too. Either way, let's run through some hidden gems you should and should not avoid in this new roundup for the finale of September, running into the spooky season of October. Okay, let's begin. Bzzzt! Yes, you heard me right. Bzzzt is a very simple game to comprehend. Each stage is around 30 seconds long, and you will have to platform through traps to make it to the end. Some power-ups will be dished out to change gameplay, from new jumping abilities to messing with turrets to take down enemies. There is combat then, but not in the traditional sense. Bzzzt falls very much, I love saying that, Bzzzt falls very much in that category of fast-paced puzzle platformers that excelled after Super Meat Boy debuted over a decade ago. It looks great and controls fine too. Either way, you're going to love going into the game in short bursts or dislike the design and overall gameplay loop. For me, it's the type of game I can appreciate from afar, acknowledging its talent without a whole lot to say. Caravan Sandwich was honestly a little disappointing. You, Sage, who is a young girl, will arrive on a planet with the sole purpose of exploring it with their already established community of adventurers. You get a van, a radar to point locations out, and that's about it for quite a while. The basic gameplay loop will have Sage look for parts to get to the next invention. Once that invention unlocks, a new one will unmask itself and open up some new gameplay mechanics. It's a big open world to explore with not a lot in it. Your enjoyment will derive from interacting with the NPCs, which I mostly didn't care for. Caravan Sandwich just lacked energy for me. The one truly positive thing I enjoyed were the visuals, truly, but I just wish there was more to the game, like a point. Elsie is a new roguelike with a Mega Man vibe. The game takes place in a futuristic city wherein a valiant professor created android saviors who have all disappeared except for the protagonist, Elsie. You have to find her brethren in several zones, along with NPCs to build back home base, from a chef to a gunsmith. At home base, you can unlock some permanent upgrades, and then on runs, you can find temporary ones, from passive skills like building HP to offensive ones like adding an extra attack to your dash. Like most roguelikes, it'll be hard to get used to everything, and death will be a constant companion. It looks and plays well though, and with practice it should start to feel like second nature. While it's not on the level of Dead Cells or Hades, because I mean, what roguelike can be, this 2D action roguelike will hit the spot for a lot of y'all. Hivejump 2 Survivors is another roguelike. It is a sequel, but in a different subgenre. The original game was a late release on the Wii U, which I covered at the time, and quite enjoyed. It was a 2D roguelike bug monster hunter with a Metroid aesthetic. That's a lot to take in, yes, but it blended well. This sequel is a top-down auto-shooter roguelike akin to Vampire Survivors, hence the name. It feels like a lowball spin-off rather than a full-fledged sequel though, which I was disappointed by. However, detached from the original and eyeing it just as an auto-shooter on its own, well, it's pretty decent. You begin with a basic class and can gather currencies on runs to upgrade it permanently, like with more damage or health. Temporary boosts can also be gained on runs. The more you play, the more you unlock. Simple. The coolest aspect for me was the jetpack. It doesn't change the auto-shooter genre, but it was a nice touch and a carryover from the original game. Master Detective Archives Raincode is a game I have covered before. It was released on the Switch in 2023 as a spiritual successor to Danganronpa. Basically, it was a murder mystery detective game with a haunting twist, as the main character, Yuma Kokohead, befriends a ghost only he can see. This spirit, named Shinigami, is a bodacious anime babe underneath that fits the trope well. She toys with this meek detective in training, helping him through several tough mysteries while making fun of and teasing him with her curves all the same. You'll interact with crime scenes to gather clues, along with talk to highly stylized allies and NPCs. If there's one thing the Danganronpa team has, it's style. Besides the usual adventure game mechanics, there's also a dungeon crawler aspect wherein you use truth swords to determine a path forward. And there's some leveling up and a skill tree as well. It's a dungeon full of minigames, basically though. It was a good set of mysteries on the Switch overall, if not a little hammy and maybe drawn out at times, but now there is a new version that I played on my PS5. It runs and looks better, I can say that for 100% certainty. If you love weird games, anime, and murder mysteries, Master Detective Archives Raincoat Plus, that's the new name, is a high recommendation. Perfect for this Halloween season, especially. Night Slashers Remake is another game that will be a good addition to the Halloween roster. It is a remake of an arcade brawler from Data East, which was released in 1993. In the golden age of arcade brawlers, this one stood out as it featured martial artists fighting against zombies and other classic monsters from fiction. You'll fight Frankenstein's monster, Pinocchio, werewolves, and so many other creatures of the night. It's quite silly. The original was a real treat, and technically this remake is still fun. However, it is not a pretty remake visually. It smooths over the pixel art to make it look like a Flash game. Remember Flash games? I don't think we can run those anymore. It looks cheap basically, which is a crime. If you can stomach the new art style and you can gather a party of 4 on the TV, then this might be a good, albeit short time, for the spooky season. Now we have Numata. It is the final game on the list, and without a doubt, it is the worst one that I would not recommend at any level, maybe the worst game I played all year. So, you wake up in bed to headlights and you go outside, seeing delusions along the way, yada yada yada, the old horror trope. You get a package, find a VHS tape, play it, and find out that it might have something to do with your wife. So you do what any sane man would do, ignore the authorities, and just drive off into some unknown podunk town in the middle of nowhere to try and find her. That screams Silent Hill for sure. As you explore, you'll find crosses burning, and you just have no reaction to it. Great! Besides the bad visuals, bad movement, and overall poor control scheme, I think that's what I dislike the most. The protagonist not reacting to much. Numata tries to borrow from so much without being original in the slightest, which would be fine if it executed anything well. If this was an early access game, I could forgive it, but it is a full-fledged game. It's wild. And listen, it's better than anything I could make technically. So, there's that. It's been a long time since I disliked a game this much, so let's just move on before I feel too bad here. Overall, don't play Numata, or at least don't buy it. If you can find a demo, I don't know if there's anything out there, but just don't buy it. Until, maybe some patches will help fix it or something. Anyway, for the other games on the list, I give a small recommendation for all of them, but the one I really want to emphasize is Master Detective Archives Raincoat Plus. It is clearly the game of this rundown. Now, that's it. For more from me, well, you know where to go. This channel. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.